Hey, how you doing? I'm going to be talking today about something that I feel is very important. And it is very important for your spiritual walk. And it's something that everybody begins with, especially beginners that are just coming into their spiritual walk, beginning to contemplate, meditate, and recognize what's really going on in their mind. And these are the spiritual imperfections that everybody goes through. And I'm probably going to hit, there's several of them. I'm probably only going to hit like two of them on this video, and I'll make another video and talk about the rest of them. So, the first one is spiritual pride. Now, I've struggled with this myself, and just to say that it's something that can really cause a lot of stumbling in your spiritual walk. And what happens is that you can have vanity that begins to arise from the attachments to like spiritual works and just yourself, and you become very vain when you speak about things. You know, your purpose for talking with somebody could be for the purpose just to tell them about the things that you've done, you know, the good things that I did. Not that those things are bad in them of themselves, but we're looking at our purpose and we're looking at the attachments. And these are all things that get in the way. And what we really want is to be open, and we want to see truth. We want to see that the love of God is what sustains me, and not any of these other little attachments. Because if these things get in the way and we attach ourselves to them, then we're actually pulling ourselves back down. We're going off in a direction that we don't want to go, and we're attaching ourselves to thoughts, and we're identifying with those things, and therefore believing that, you know, this is who I am. And that's not who we really are. So we're in the spiritual purification, we're recognizing these things. I'm recognizing that, hey, I've got this going on. And the first time we maybe see these things, we might, it might really hurt us, and we might really get down, and we might really think like, man, I can't believe I'm doing this. But it's okay. You know, we're just recognizing and we're seeing that we're doing these things, and then we're letting them go. But part of this is first recognizing that it's actually there. So another part of the pride is that we can condemn others. You know, we condemn others in our heart because we see that, you know, I have a certain zeal and a certain way that I like to practice my spirituality, and a devotion that I have to do it. You know, I spend long hours and, you know, maybe read lots of things. But hey, this person over here, they don't do that. And maybe they even seem to be freer than I am. So we will condemn them in our heart and not even realize it sometimes. But we'll have like this condemnation of thinking, well, you know, they don't practice as well as I do, you know, and we're saying these things in our heart. And we kind of take them much more lightly than we should. So that is another one that can get in the way. It's part of the spiritual imperfections. And just to say that, you know, nobody that begins down the path of salvation, right? Nobody doesn't not have one of these things and struggle with certain things. Everybody, you know, some may be able to deal with them quicker than others, but everybody has one or the other. So, you know, and I've actually struggled with through a lot of these things. I've seen this one in my own life, and, you know, I'll see that, and then a lot of times I would think, man, I can't believe that I'm doing that, you know, I can't believe that I'm thinking those things. But the best thing that we can do is just, you know, in our awareness, just recognize that, hey, you know, I just was thinking this condemning thought about this other person. You know, that's not, I can't believe I just thought that, you know, that's not really who I am. And that's not really the truth. And a lot of times I'll just see myself thinking something like that. And if I do that right when I see the thought, a lot of the times the thought will just drop right away. The more I practice that, the more the thought will just drop away, and I'll see that that's not really even who I am, and that's not really the truth. And that's not something that I even want crossing my mind. It can cross my mind, but the key is if I identify with it or not, right? Am I identifying with these things, or am I seeing them and then quickly able to deal with them and let them go? Because these things may come, and the more that we deal with them, the less that they'll come, and the easier that we can just let them go. So you also have a pride, and there's so many of these things, and really, I mean, I might not even talk about some of the things you struggle with here, but these are some of the main ones. And even like with your works and things, your pride can begin to increase. You'll want to do them more and more and more, and it's really just driven by pride. And that's another one. And I would have to say I would deal with that one at times as well. Becoming over sad at your faults, and either becoming over sad about them or making too little of them, right? Because you can become over sad and really lead yourself into like a depression or an upset or a guilt that you don't need to lead yourself into, where you're creating more of an identity crisis, or you just make little of them and just continue to do these things and never really see them, and therefore you're actually still darkened in your mind in that spot because you're just continuing to allow it to happen instead of bringing it up and seeing it and letting it go. So those are the ones for pride, the few that I have written down here. There's many more. So the second spiritual imperfection that I want to go into is this acquisitiveness, or you could say it's a covetousness in the spiritual sense. So really that's just like the wanting of more and more. In the worldly sense it's like wanting more money, but this is wanting like more spiritual things and just like really coveting them from other people or just in ourselves, just wanting these things and having just covetous desire to just have more. So this one really, you become discontented with spirituality, which God has given you. And you really just become discontented with it because you have this desire and this covetousness to really want like more of these sweet things and more of these good feelings. And instead of really following what God has given you, you become discontented with it because you think that, well, this spirituality really isn't what I thought it was, and I thought it was all about feeling like sweet feelings and feeling good all the time and, and all of that. But that's not what it's about. It's really about what God has given you and really just being content with that and flowing in and out, because you will experience good feelings at times, but not getting too attached to your good feelings and of this sense. Because we have to recognize that those things are still coming out of the body. They're still coming out of the senses. And we don't want to get attached to those, because then we're desiring to have more of this feeling when God is really a presence and God is really a freedom where we're detached from all other things. And that's really what it is, whether we're feeling really good feelings or not. Those things are going to come and go. But the peace of God will always be with us as long as we have no attachments. And there's another part of this covetousness, this acquisitiveness, that is somebody that, and I used to see this in my own self, but you just really desire to always listen to teachers and always reading spiritual books, and things like that, and trying to get more of this knowledge instead of spending more time practicing the things that are going to bring this freedom to your soul, like practicing the mind training part of it, where you really are seeing some of the thoughts and really going into these things and recognizing the things that are coming across your mind, and then dealing with those. Maybe in the beginning it's more of just feeling what's actually there, and sometimes if it's deep, you just have to feel those feelings and feel those things, and then you can more identify the thoughts after that and begin to just let them go. But I remember I fell into this, really reading lots of books all hours of the day, and watching a lot of YouTube clips of spiritual teachers and things like this, instead of really just going in and practicing, because it's all good and well to do those things, but there comes a point where you really have to begin to practice if you really want to get free. And it comes a point where you have to let go of watching spiritual teachers and trying to get more knowledge and gain more things, and really just begin to practice and let go. Because if you don't do that, if you don't have this kind of mindfulness practice, then you're not going to get free. It doesn't matter really how much you listen to other people. What you're actually becoming attracted to is really, this covetousness of what this other person has, or you're kind of getting high off of watching other people, and maybe even other myriad of things of thinking that, well, if I watch these people, then I'll get free just by watching them. Which really, we have to go in and do the work ourselves if we really want to gain freedom. And these people can really help us guide us there, but they can't actually do it for us, and that's what we have to recognize. So really, that's the people that are very successful and pass these courses, pass through these spiritual imperfections, are people that, you're not attaching yourself to any visible objects, knowledge, or even thoughts. And that's the whole thing we're doing here. So, like I said, I've seen a lot of these things in my own self, and I've had to work through these things. They still will come up at times, but through practice and through really just knowing how to rid myself of these things, and practice identifying my thoughts and seeing when they come up, I'm able to let them go. And that's what makes the difference of whether you're going to experience this freedom in God. So I pray all the best for you, and I pray that this brings some more light. I'm going to make another video on a few more spiritual imperfections that you may run into, and see if that may help you identify some of these things and really begin to see them. Any time of the day you can do this is the great thing about it too. And you're really in a meditation of itself the more you begin to do this. Because I've even heard of people that meditate, and they'll sit and they'll go in to try to meditate, and they're still not having freedom. They're still not experiencing what they want to experience, and it's because they still have these desires and this person that they've created, that this is the thing that they want and this is the thing that they want to do, and they're not actually dealing with that and letting it go, because they've created an I identity that is really not them. Because really, we're not attached to anything, and that means that, I am not Darren, the person that people call me by the name Darren. That is not who I am. That's just something that I can become attached to, and that have in the past become attached to because people began to call me by that name, and I began to build this story about who I was. So a lot of it is just going back through these things, going back and undoing them, and seeing that the whole time this is not who I am, and then being able to just let go of it, and in that sweet place of just being easy, we just let him go. So I pray this helps you. God bless, much love, and peace to you.